So yeah, I've been covering the news already. Very excited to have you. Very excited to have you on the broadcast again.
Thank you.
And I've been awaiting this moment to give you your rightful throne once again. Part of the reason why I was very frustrated with what happened is because I think right now we all are aware of AIPAC's malign influence on American democracy. We are already aware of corporate PACs and the way that they subvert American democracy, the democratic process in general. But you were one of the primary victims of AIPAC's unlimited money faucet. They dumped $9 million on your race. And from what I understand, they urged Wesley Bell, your opponent, who's now the incumbent, to run against you. Why do you think they did that?
A number of reasons. So for one, not only did they dump the $9 million, but they had friends and allies who came in and dumped more, and they worked together. So it totaled out about $15 million. And one, of course, they did it because I spoke out, for a ceasefire, and I am the lead author of that bill for a ceasefire in Congress alongside Rashida Tlaib. So of course that pissed them off. But it was more than that. When I had the action on the steps of the Capitol back in 2021, as a first-year freshman, I pissed off the big real estate because we got the eviction moratorium. President Biden went on ahead and pushed through that eviction moratorium. They wanted me from back then. The Republicans and they just had it was just a target. We're going to take her because they didn't want me to mobilize, but also they knew Project 2025 was coming. And they knew that they didn't want me trying to stop it. They didn't want me working against it. So it was so much bigger than my work on a ceasefire. This was more about them getting the Trump agenda pushed through a lot easier. Because we got to remember, I was barricaded in my office the day of the insurrection. It was my third day in Congress, and I wrote a letter sitting in that office to investigate and expel any member of Congress that participated in the insurrection, and then got up a week later and called Donald Trump the white supremacist in chief from the floor. So they didn't want that kind of energy.
It kind of feels like saying the truth and being correct, but too early, is often punished in American politics. But do you feel like the tide is now shifting in our direction, where people are actually demanding real fighters and insurgent candidacies? We're seeing the Bernie-crat wing of the party, left populist candidates rise up and actually take on the establishment and see a lot more success. Do you feel like that'll translate to a victory for yourself as well?
I absolutely do. The tide is so different. There was so much vitriol, so much anger against me and others, Jamal and Rashida, and just people were angry. Even people that we thought were our friends, our allies, they just didn't, or they didn't want to talk to us. It was almost like we don't want the wrath of the White House or the caucus against us, as well as AIPAC. Now people are coming out, speaking out, saying, I'm not taking AIPAC money. That's the thing to say now, even though some of them are taking money other ways from still the same people. But the tide has totally shifted. And I do believe it'll result in a win. It'll result in a win if people understand that we got to work to get the win. That's the thing, because what I hear is, oh, Corey, I love you. We love you. But then they won't help. Like, I need your help, because when I stood that night on that stage, the night I lost the election, and I said, AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down, I meant it. And so to go back with a win 2 years later, what will that do? What will that look like? That'll be historical, and it'll open the door for so many other candidates.
Yeah. Let's talk about St. Louis. This is my first time here.
Oh.
It's a beautiful city. There are a lot of negative perceptions about St. Louis from the outside, and this is something that I've actually seen in different places around the country that I visited. I went with Brandon Johnson to the south side of Chicago as well, and I experienced it firsthand, where the way that people present St. Louis from the outside, I think, is very different than how St. Louis really is. And I've also seen this in Detroit and even in certain parts of Philadelphia as well. Why do you think that's the case?
Because they want communities, especially communities that are dim lit, regardless of if it's a red state or not. They want them to seem like it's so much crime. This is not a place to visit. You know, they want to divest from communities like ours because it helps the narrative that that we need to be controlled. But not here. And that's another reason why people were pissed off with me, because I'm not going to let you, I'm not going to let you just hurt our community without me fighting back. I'm going to tell the secrets. That's the other thing. Like, I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm telling the secrets. I'm telling how people do things in other cities to make sure we get an investment. But, they also, I think also, if people can, one thing that happened in St. Louis, and I truly feel like it's a thing that people want to happen now, if they can move out Black and brown communities from being where most of the money is concentrated, of course, like in the downtown area, or if they can move those folks out and then raise the rent, raise the property value, raise like put these crazy prices on these homes, then they get to like have their, they get to have the area that they want.
Yeah.
So
there's tremendous potential for St. Louis, and yet you feel like the potential is being tampered with because of the demographics of St. Louis being predominantly Black and brown, especially Black, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
They like the votes, though, it seems.
Absolutely.
So this is something that I asked Chris Rabb as well yesterday in Philadelphia. There's this conversation around the Black vote. You're a Black woman yourself. This is the most loyal demographic to the Democratic Party. Do you feel like the Democratic Party is taking the Black vote for granted?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, and has for a long time. Growing up for me, I was a Democrat. I was a Democrat before I knew what a Democrat was, and, that's the expectation. I don't have, there can't be loyalty to someone or some group that is not being loyal to you, so we have to pay attention to why are we supposed to be Democrats? Because we believe in civil rights, we believe in human rights, and Democrats say that's who we are.
Yeah.
Those guys aren't. But if we're not the true opposition, then you need to work to be the opposition. Show us your human rights, show us your humanity, show us, and we're not getting that. I think they're taking it for granted too, because in some of our communities, they don't even have to knock doors. They don't have to spend money on mailers. They don't have to put up an office in our communities. We know that this is a Black community. They're going to show up for us. And do we? Yes. Let's be clear. We do show up.
Yeah.
We show up because we're worried about what's happening to our families and our grandchildren. We show up. We don't have the option to not. But it's not good enough now. It's not good enough. We can't be hypocrites, and that is the problem that I have right now. It's hypocritical to say you got to be with us because we're the party of human rights, we're the party of civil rights, but then our civil rights are being rolled back, our human rights are being rolled back every single day, and what we hear is nothing. Or what we hear is a harshly worded letter instead of actual fight in the street. What we hear is that you're making money from off war profiteers. What we hear is that you continue to take money from these big corporations that hurt us, but then you tell us that you're with us.
Yeah. I have a working theory on this, and I want to run it by you, and you can tell me I'm totally wrong if you disagree. There has been somewhat of a generational breakdown as far as voter participation in the Black community, where the younger Black voters oftentimes are nowhere near as active as the older voting Black. Now, that's obviously the same as the generational participation for all demographics in this country, for sure. But given the participation rate otherwise, do you feel like this has something to do with the fact that the last time the Democratic Party actually took on a politically risky role, where they were on the correct side of a political conversation, goes all the way back to the Civil Rights Movement, and therefore a lot of younger Black folk haven't seen the Democratic Party actually do something for them, stick their neck out for them. And this, of course, is the same on class boundaries as well.
Yeah.
There's certainly an argument beyond the black voting bloc. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think yes, in the way that it was kind of like, I can speak for me growing up, it was like, okay, we don't have to sit at the back of the bus anymore.
Yeah.
So now we're good. Like, you can buy a home in the community you want to buy a home in. So now we're good, you know? So don't rock the boat. Like, things are good, we're moving forward. And then we got a black president. So it was like, you know, just, now we're good. Like, everybody just, you know, just try to, you know, get the schooling, the house, the, you know, white picket fence and all of that. But in the midst of all of that, we did have the war on drugs. In the midst of that, we did have mass incarceration. In the midst of that, we still had police violence. So that stuff didn't change. We still had communities being redlined, and so many of us just turned to, we were trying to get through. So that's why I say, and I still say, when the Ferguson uprising here, when Michael Brown was killed back in 2014, we said we were woke because we woke up to that's not the real deal.
Yeah.
You know, like
under Obama, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of people forget, and there's like a ahistorical approach to that where a lot of people don't realize that, especially younger people don't realize that, like, there was the same exact sentiment demonstrated by the National Party against the pro-Palestine protesters was what Black Lives Matter protesters initially had to withstand, where there was definitely an antagonism or a negative attitude towards Black Lives Matter protesters under the Obama administration, because people were like, you're messing up our electoral chances here by speaking out when you see something that's going on in your own communities. That obviously shifted after Trump became president and he positioned himself against Black Lives Matter, Colin Kaepernick. I remember seeing that attitude shift from the Democrats, where the Democrats universally were no longer in opposition to BLM, but were supportive of it. How do we get our message across to the broader base of support within the party on issues that you feel are not being discussed or addressed, and what are those issues?
You know, I think one is, people keep saying they're looking for a fighter, looking for fighters. Where are the fighters? So be that. So our fighters need to be in the front. Our fighters need to be the one. I feel like the party is doing such a disservice by continuing to push up the same people over and over again when the communities across the country are saying we need a fighter. You know what? We have people that are great at messaging. Have them do the messaging. That's not your fighter. Have the people who are great, have the constitutional lawyers help us to figure out what we, you know, like what avenues we can go down to make other change. They're not your fighters. Your people that are willing to put themselves on the line, the people that are willing to go up to, that are willing to speak out, that are that flamethrower, put those folks as the fighter. That to me is what would make the difference, because the people are like, oh, I thought you all aren't doing anything. It's not that necessarily that people aren't doing anything, is they're sidelining the people that will go out. And when I was on the steps of the Capitol, people said, oh, you're so undignified.
Yeah.
You know, this is not what you do. You know, decorum. You know, and I'm like, no, what's undignified is people being out on the street. You know, when in this country, we should be able to house people who need housing. We're sending all of this money, you know, to go bomb children, you know, and at that time we were sending money, you know, to go and well, still we were bombing folks. We were still at that time.
We were still
you know,
very supportive of Israel's actions in Gaza at the time.
You know, and so, you know, housing. How do we fight for housing? We know Donald Trump has stripped away so many protections for people who are unhoused. So that has to be one. Making sure that we are keeping our dollars in this country, that has to be one. But of course, we know that that is the hard one, because these folks are profiting off of war, you know, in the Democratic Party. So we understand that. But it's going to take people who don't give a freak about their reputation, that care more about the community and getting the change. So that's why I'm running again, because, you know, I'm not doing this so people can. I'm not doing this for a title. I'm not doing this for a name. I'm doing it because it's what's right.
Yeah. what are some of the key problems facing St. Louis right now that you want to address to the best of your ability if reelected?
Yeah, so we had a tornado hit almost a year ago, May 16th. It was the EF3 tornado that came through some of the most underserved communities that we have. Who thinks that a tornado is going to come through a city? It came through the inner city and hadn't happened since 1959. Those communities were already under-resourced and historically excluded, and now so many people are still displaced a year later. People were sleeping in tents next to their homes, next to the bricks that were their homes. And so for me, making sure that, because we know that the Trump administration has defunded FEMA and made a lot of changes there, but me going back, working on disaster relief, working on what that response is, working on making sure that FEMA and the EPA and all of these folks that we fight against what the Trump administration is doing, that has to be number one in our community. We need $1 billion to restore this community just back to where it was before the tornado. Mm-hmm. Where do we get that money from? And our current congressman is not doing it. He's not doing it. He's not putting himself out there. So I'll go do it. I've done it before. I will go do it. Also, these data centers are popping up. These huge data centers are popping up across our community, and they're just being ran through these city governments. And the communities are saying, but tell me about how this environmentally is going to impact my block, my neighborhood,
energy prices.
Energy prices. Missouri has some of the highest utility prices in the country already. And what is this going to do to our water? So those are some of the things. But also, community violence. We are still trying to, get like this violence under control. But when we live in this red state where it's like, hey, all of the loose gun laws you want to open carry. We can't, we are trying to build this community. We're trying to move it forward. And so what we need is somebody who is willing to speak to the thing and then do the thing, and another issue that is really prevalent in this community is, just folks being able to actually make the ends meet. Even in a place like St. Louis where we have a decent minimum wage, but we still, because of the disinvestment for so many years, we had the same congressman for 20 years, and before that, 32. The same people being in place, doing the same thing, did not allow for there to be new ideas to bring in investment into this community. So we have rot. We have decay.
Yeah. So you actually brought up something that I wanted to talk about, the minimum wage. The increase in minimum wage actually came alongside. What was the percentage that Missouri voted for Trump by?
Oh,
it was like plus 30, I think.
Yeah.
And yet, on the same ballot, there were ballot initiatives in this state, very progressive ballot initiatives. I used Missouri as an example over and over again, that people actually were not against left populism or even very progressive economic ideas, such as paid leave, and also a $15 increase of $15 for minimum wage. Now, one of those two things actually, from what I understand, in the state legislature was struck down, paid family leave.
Yes.
What does that say about what, even in a deep red state like Missouri, people are demanding as far as necessary changes? And what will you do to fight back and ensure that these things that people voted for democratically, they will be able to get?
We always say Missourians want progressive change, but they don't elect progressive candidates.
Yeah.
And because there is this disconnect, understanding that it's your progressive candidate that's the one that's going to do the work to bring about that humanity that you're seeking, that true transformative change. We hit $15 because it was incremental. We hit $15 this January. And now we should be at 25. Should we be at like 25 now? But we finally got to, we got to the 15. What we need to do though if we don't get the message out from our party, it has to come. Our Missouri Democratic Party, it like so much is focused around there and how much they're willing to go into these communities to pull out these candidates. One thing that was said to me was, Corey, would you come to my community and would you knock doors with me? Because I'm afraid to do it by myself. And I would say, because what they would say is, we get hit by cars. We have people come and and do violent acts against us if we say we're progressive, even if we say we're a Democrat in some of our communities. So Corey, if you come, you'll highlight what's happening in our community, and then maybe that'll simmer it down. And so I have done that for some communities, but that's the other thing. People feel like they're left alone. So those that are saying that they want these progressive policies, I can't be seen voting for, like, the numbers are small in my community. I don't need people thinking that I'm the one that's voting for this progressive candidate or even a Democrat. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll vote for the initiative.
Yeah. So how do you think we cut through that? Because that obviously is because, especially in a deep red state like Missouri, the Democratic Party is seen as a very negative organization, right? Like, there is this negative association with the Democrats. That's precisely the reason why people are actually very fond of the policies themselves, but not fond of the party. So the most successful initiatives in deep red states is oftentimes a faceless, lifeless ballot measure that might even be more radical than what the state Democratic representative is actually pushing for. Maybe not so much in your case, but certainly in the case of many other states, where Democrats are even willing to negotiate on the issue of abortion rights. Meanwhile, and I believe Missouri, that was also
yes.
It was also constitutionally protected in this ballot initiative. So, how do we change that? Like, how do you think, or is there even a way to change the attitude of the National Democratic Party in the eyes of many voters who are disillusioned with its performance?
I think we're seeing some of that change happening now as people are pushing back when people are saying to the DNC, we don't want corporate money. We don't want to see corporate money in our primaries. And even though we're not where we want to be, the fact that there have been resolutions brought forward, and there have been votes that say, the people say no. That's different. I wouldn't have expected that a year ago, let alone 5 years ago, let alone a year ago. So that's one, but that has to filter down through to our state parties and the respect for progressives. Progressives are not the fringe. Progressives are not the enemy of the party. And that's the problem, because we're silenced. It's like because you won't be status quo with us, because you won't fall in line, then we will come harder at you than we come at the Republicans. That's the issue. Let progressives be who we are. If we're a big tent, then you want to stay a corporate centrist Democrat, and we are who we are. But if you celebrate that, then the people who are like us all over these states, you will bring them in. Now, true enough, we'll start to push out these folks that are the corporatists. We will, because we'll be the ones to start winning, just like you said.
But that's the fear, right?
Yeah. Oh, that is the fear.
And I think there's a power center in the party that wants to win or lose by their own design. And we saw with Kamala Harris's electoral defeat against Donald Trump that they were perfectly willing to lose as long as they kept that control over the party. This is a major problem. Do you feel like there's any support right now from the centrist wing of the party for your insurgency to win back your seat, or do you feel like they're offering support to Wesley Bell's incumbency?
There has been support, actually, more than I thought. And people reaching out, just saying, "Hey, if you want my help, like, I'm here." And the thing is that I've had to make the decision, do I want that?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, because I am going to state, like, what you're not going to do is move me. You're not going to sway me. And if having your support means that I have to tone something down, mute myself, or stop talking about a position, then I can't do that. And so whether it's on the campaign or when I get back to Congress, if what you're doing is buying my silence for later or buying my complicity, then that's not like, I can't say yes to that.
Are there any groups that you'd want to elaborate that you've refused the endorsement of or support from?
These are people who folks wouldn't even expect, but I don't want to say yet. I don't want to say yet. Honestly, I want to see who else comes about.
Okay. All right.
I do. I really want to see who else I want to see. I want to see, because as this campaign grows, what people like what's popular. Let's be real. People, you know, they want to see. They like what's hot. So I want to see who comes about, and I want to see if I can change them.
Mm-hmm. You noticed specifically from when you were one of the first, advocating for Stop the Bombs, and people who then were saying,
I'm going to try one of these.
Progressive about Palestine, I don't want to say anything, to now, because things have changed so much and you're running again too, is it people in that world as well? So it's not just like the centrists in the party, but other progressives who are like, well, this time we're with you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because it was so weird. So many people turned against us, people that are like, you know me, I know you, we know each other, and for them to just be like, yeah, because we don't want the wrath that you're getting, but also where we're funded. Mm-hmm. Where our organization is funded or where our PAC is funded, it's just a little too much for us.
Yeah, we always say progressive but Palestine.
But with progressive but Palestine, yeah.
But that's definitely changing. Do you feel do you think that there is a cause for concern that these movements might be infiltrated or subverted in an effort to become a machine for electing Democrats rather than actually making the necessary changes? We've seen some of these movements where the Democrats will come out and say, "Oh, we're all denying AIPAC." I mean, from Gavin Newsom to even Cory Booker, who is has been a lifelong supporter of not only Israel but AIPAC specifically. Now they're saying that they're actually against donations from AIPAC, but obviously, as is the case with your previous race, AIPAC wasn't directly involved, even though they were directly involved, but they were involved through a subsidiary.
Right.
It was United Democracy Project.
And DMFI.
Yeah, and Democratic Majority for Israel, yeah. So do you feel like this is just another way to hide the ultimate goal of still continuing to support Israel, or do you feel like there's a genuine sea change amongst at least some in the caucus?
I think it's both. Because some people you're not going to move. Some people they just don't care. But then there are some who. There were some even back then, when I was still in Congress, who would say to me, "Well, Corey, I believe what you believe, and I want to say what you're saying, but I can't." So I do believe that there is a group that is willing to make the move, but who's going to go first and take the jabs?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the one to trailblaze that? That's the issue, because I had to realize, you know what, Corey, you're expecting you from others. And you can't do that. Like, you can't get mad because this presidential candidate isn't doing X, Y, and Z necessarily, because you can't expect them to be you. If you want that, you run. And so that's why I'm running now. But so who are those folks in the Congress right now that will be willing to take that? Because let's be real, that is they will probably be, sidelined in the way where you won't get your bills moved.
Yeah.
You might not get your committees.
Yeah. So let's get back to the race that you're in currently. Mm-hmm. The incumbent Wesley Bell. What do you think it says about his priorities that he was so willing to be what I call an AIPAC stooge? Do you feel like he has been sufficient? Do you feel like he has actually represented the interests of his constituents? What do you think it says that? What do you think it says about? What do you think it says about him that he was so willing to work at the behest of a foreign state like Israel and overthrow a popular incumbent?
overthrow someone that he knew, someone that has helped him in the past.
Oh, you guys have a history as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I actually called him.
Fake friends.
Yeah, fake friends. I called him when he announced he was running for U.S. Senate against Josh Hawley, because he said Josh Hawley was the greatest threat to democracy. And so he was running against him. And I called him because people were saying, Corey, that's a lie. He's running against you. And so we had a conversation. Oh, no, sis, I'm not running against you. I wouldn't do it.
He lied to your face?
He lied. It's on recording. I have the recording.
Oh, my God. Leak it.
Yeah. Well, we put it out.
You put it out.
It's
Okay.
out. It's out. But you know, Hill Harper said publicly when he was running in Michigan, for U.S. Senate, he said that AIPAC came to him and offered him $20 million to run against Rashida. The same thing, and he said the same thing happened to my opponent. Said that he was offered $20 million to run against me. That's why, because it was an easy way to move into a seat, take the money. You don't have to work hard. You don't have to hit the doors. $20 million will do it, especially in St. Louis in the Midwest media market. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And then also, you know, when you have a desire to, raise, when it's about you and not about the community, you don't care if you've done the work before. What difference does that make? So
because you're not there to do the work. You don't have to be responsive at all.
Absolutely.
One thing I wanted to say about the Wesley Bell situation is, how does it sit with the constituents here that Wesley Bell had a couple town halls, and they actually ended up in quite a chaotic situation where a lot of the people that attended his town halls were demanding answers on his allegiance to the state of Israel and how frustrated they were about his lack of responsiveness. And some of them were brutalized by the police.
They were.
And his town hall stopped after that. What do you think that says about how he is governed thus far? And also, do you feel like there is enough animosity towards that by the voters that they might actually make a demand for a more responsive candidate like yourself?
I think there's enough animosity. For some, if that wasn't enough things that have happened since then, when you add all of it together, it's showing a pattern of someone who just doesn't care for the community the way that they claim. And, people were brutalized for waiting for him. They didn't do anything. They were just waiting for him to come and talk to them. He told them, wait for me if you want to ask me more questions, and they did, and then they were brutalized. And to this day, he has never apologized. He has never even acknowledged that it happened. That was his security plus local law enforcement that were working for him that night. But he is doing what him being primarily Republican funded, primarily MAGA funded, he's doing what MAGA does. What did we see at the insurrection?
Subversion of democracy, the democratic process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he's walking that out. And even if he wants to do something different, he was just on AIPAC's video. He was just at the AIPAC conference doing a promo for them. He's paying the piper. And so that's what we can expect from him.
Yeah. And not do right by the voters at all. So I want to run by two different things that I ask all the people that I interview. Okay. One is like a fire round, just boom, 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 very quickly, if you support or would be in support of it or would be against it. Let me pull it up really quickly. And the other thing is, I like to call it the Zoran method, where I ask, Zoran was definable by 5 key policies. It's something that I think more Democrats should do. It's something that I think more politicians should do in general, is be definable on their own terms. I think this was a huge problem with the Kamala Harris campaign, that there weren't key policies that she was on board with, and therefore it created a tremendous opening, a weakness really, for the Republicans to exploit and define her on their own terms. Mm-hmm. That's part of the reason why I think a very prescient talking point was Kamala Harris only wants to do transgender bottom surgeries to Guatemalan migrants in detention facilities. And I think that is a real weakness for a lot of establishment Democrats and centrist Democrats, because they're so fearful of coming out in support of whatever policies that they are actually on board with. Mm-hmm. So in an effort to, reduce that tension or confusion, I always ask people, what are your top 5 priorities for your district, and how would you go about implementing them? The Zoran method.
Yeah. So for me, it's humanity first. So it's everything that we need to do to go grab humanity for people quickly. There's this sense of urgency that I always have, and so right now, fighting against this war, being anti-genocide, keeping that money into our communities, because we need housing. We don't have the affordable housing stock in this community, and we have so many people who are sleeping on the streets right now. We are one of the most unbanked. We're getting better, but one of the most unbanked communities. And so, working on our economic justice, being able to circulate our dollar in our communities, building our small businesses. Medicare for all. We are one of the most uninsured communities in the country. Medicare for all is the floor. Like, that is the basic, making sure that people have actual health care. We do have the minimum wage at $15 an hour, but I don't feel that that's enough. So for me, continuing to push to make sure that everyone has a true livable wage. And then the Equal Rights Amendment, instead of just reproductive care and reproductive justice, be an actual Equal Rights Amendment, because making sure we have constitutional equality enshrined in the Constitution, which would give us, help with against housing discrimination, sex discrimination, it would be in support and give us the protections for trans rights, for abortion rights, and so much more. So things that make us whole, all of it falls under humanity for me.
Okay. All right, I'm going to do rapid fire
Sure.
now. Do you support Medicare for all?
Yes.
Universal child care?
Yes.
Abolishing ICE?
Yes.
Do you support holding ICE accountable beyond abolishing ICE?
Absolutely.
A workers' bill of rights?
Yes.
A federal jobs guarantee?
Yes.
The Green New Deal?
Yes. Green New Deal for cities was mine.
Ending aid to Israel?
Yes.
Calling out Israel's genocide?
Yes.
An arms embargo to Israel, both on offensive and defensive weapons?
Yes.
Holding Israel accountable for committing a genocide?
Yes.
Okay, calling out what Israel's doing to be an apartheid, which is recognized by all international humanitarian rights organizations?
Yes.
Are you in favor of ending America's war on Iran?
Yes.
Are you in favor of ending America's embargo on Cuba?
Yes.
Right now, okay, perfect. Well, those are some of the rapid fire. Oh, a moratorium on data centers.
Yes.
Okay. So, right now, the Trump administration is in this limbo, where we don't know if the war with Iran is continuing. And it's not. It's supposed to be the day of the war powers resolution, where they have to go back to Congress and demand an extension so they can continue waging war potentially. The Trump administration has said that they are no longer waging war with Iran, but there's still a blockade as far as we understand.
Right.
What would you rate the current Democratic Party's performance as far as opposing the Trump administration's illegal and immoral war against Iran?
I think it is the same as everything else. I think the fact what we just saw, the decision with voting rights, we knew that was coming up. I don't feel much happened there to stop it. Everything, I feel that it's all probably at around a 3. If on a scale of 0 to 10,
okay,
I would give it a 3. A 3 for the effort. Yes, we know that you know about it.
Do you feel like the way that they're communicating on this issue rings hollow in even the eyes of the constituents, the eyes of the voters, because they keep consistently talking about a process where their opposition to waging war, whether it be with Iran or whether it be supporting Israel to the hilt, is always about process, but it's not really about impact. The impact that our decisions are having on the Iranian population, in the Gulf, or even in the entire Asian market, the African energy markets as well, they're in a state of disarray currently. That's rarely ever discussed. Do you feel like it would be beneficial to communicate to the voters and to the rest of the country that our decisions are not only impacting Americans, but also everyone else as well.
Absolutely, because, you know, in my travels around the world, I would always hear, well, we care about what's happening in the United States. You don't know our elected officials. You don't know our politicians, but we know yours. You know, we pay attention to what happens in the United States because we know that we're going to feel an impact here. And that was global South. That was, you know, that was in Europe, you know, and so that's a very real thing that the United States has the opportunity to lead, and we're not. But how can the party speak the way that you're talking about? How can you deliver a clear message when your waters are muddy? You know, when I'm saying that we don't want, you know, that we don't want our voting rights stripped. We don't want what the Trump administration is doing. We don't want Project 2025 to be completed. We don't want this war with Iran. But everybody that's funding these things or getting money from it, I benefit from those folks too. So I'm putting it in my campaign coffers, and I'm saying, no, don't do that. But give me more money, and I'm still saying, no, don't do that. The people aren't dumb. See, they gotta stop taking the people of this country, whether the electorate or people who don't even care about politics. Quit taking us for dummies. Quit taking people. Quit thinking that we don't see and that we don't care. The mask has come down, you know. And so, if you're saying that you are the opposition to what Donald Trump is doing, then why take Donald Trump donor money? Why not stand up to him? Because the thing is, I can stick my chest out and hold my head up and speak to that thing because I know I'm not bought by them. I know they don't own me. I know I don't owe them a dang thing. The only people that I'm accountable to is the people in my community and my family.
Wow, powerful. Do you feel like that is a part of the fear? Because, I mean, this, not to make this about myself, but I'm sure you've seen that for the past couple of months now, I've been leading in the media discourse side of things, where I've become a part of the conversation, where demands are being made by third way and other centrist and center-right institutions that have some influence in the Democratic Party's center of power to disavow my kind of politics, to disavow me in particular. Where do you think this is coming from? Do you think that it's because they're afraid that they're losing their grip of power and that they have to actually address their constituents for once? And or do you think it's a real significant fear?
I think it's both. They didn't make you. That's a fear. They didn't make you. They didn't give you your chance. They didn't build you. And so you're not accountable to them. And so, yes, that is a fear because I can't control you. And if they've ever tried, if they sent a honeypot or if they sent some money, if they've done something and you didn't stand, you didn't take that, then now we know. So you can't be our guy, but who you are is somebody that's speaking to millions and millions are paying attention. That scares them because what you're doing is it's not just a platform. Well, you are giving license to people who may have felt afraid to speak up or to write it or to do a podcast to say it or to be in a council meeting saying it. You're telling them that, you know what, you can do it and you can do it at your age. You're saying that now and you're feeding them the information. You said something and now I'm going to go look it up for myself. I wouldn't have heard it if you didn't say it. That's what they're afraid of. And you're not afraid. You're not allowing them. You didn't change.
No.
You didn't change. You're doubling down. That's what they don't want. But you know what? All of the discourse about the Democrats need a Joe Rogan. All of that crap.
Yeah.
Regardless of if it's a Joe Rogan or anybody else, you are reaching people. Isn't that what they should be doing? You should want to be with who's reaching people. And the Democratic Party, the country, the politicians, period. Let me not just say the Democratic Party on this, but we've seen it with the Democratic Party so much is I need all you millions of people to move to be like what this candidate wants you to be. Not this candidate should move to be what the millions of people are saying they need.
Yeah.
That's the problem that we have, and you're holding that you're making sure you're not doing that.
So that's actually a good tie-in to how we started this conversation surrounding the disillusionment that people feel, specifically the black voting bloc that's been, in my opinion, certainly taken advantage of by the Democratic Party, or taken for granted, rather. And we'll move after this. Is my last question. Do you feel like harm reduction narratives and calling out the Republican Party is sufficient, or do you feel like that's not a reliable way to turn out voters any longer? Now, of course, you're in the primary, so it's different, and your district is deep blue, and therefore winning the primary oftentimes is a surefire way of winning the general as well. But if we were to expand that to the broader races that are taking place all around the country, do you feel like harm reduction narratives have been weaponized, and that the Democratic Party oftentimes actually uses harm reduction narratives as a way to discipline the voter base into making decisions that they might not have necessarily considered the best possible option, but the option they were told is the best, most electable option that will unseat Republicans? And given the failures of that narrative, do you feel like we can genuinely chart a different path forward?
We have to chart a different path forward because, Donald Trump won being a bully. He won just saying whatever came to his mind. He won again. And he won again because so many people, even as I've gone into rural communities and talked with people who I don't see, we don't agree. But what they said is, but he fights for me. He'll go to bat for me. People don't feel that way about the Democrats, so that's where they have to go. Harm reduction, saying don't go. We're not going to go after the Republican, or this is our message, and don't go beyond it. Even being in Congress over and over, hearing, oh, don't go after it. Don't say anything. Just decorum, and but that's. These folks are rolling back our rights. They're stripping our rights. They are, they're tearing away our social safety net and so much more. So we should be calling it out. And so even in this race, in this deep blue seat, I'm calling them out every single chance I get, because that's who's harming my community.
Yeah.
And if we won't call the boogeyman, if we can't do that, then how do you get the change? If people don't know, if you're not making sure people understand that, Democrats should have the loudest bully pulpit because of what Trump is doing. We should have the loudest bully pulpit, and instead, we keep trying to, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And it's a bullhorn just blaring over our messaging.
I think they're leaning into the overall discontent with Trump. It's the James Carville method. I mean, he very quickly, early on, came out and said, Democrats should just, wait it out. They should just show their belly, and they should submit, so they show the voter base exactly what it looks like to have Trump as president and how chaotic that is. Now, that's not what the Democrats did in 2016. They actually, liberal or not, created some form of resistance. Obviously, it wasn't enough from my estimation, but there was something there, and I think that's part of the reason why a lot of voters actually decided to reward the Democrats for at least aesthetically fighting back. We haven't really seen that this time around. Do you feel like this is a dangerous gamble for the Democratic Party to just wait it out and expect there to be a marginal victory, or do you think there's an opportunity to do something more to actually try to fight a legislative battle and to demand more from elected representatives to do more and do right by their constituents, their voters?
You have to do it all right now, because all of it is hitting us right now. Project 2025 is 53% done. They only have 69 objectives left that they haven't started. How do we say wait until November? Let's wait until the midterms and everything is going to turn around. How do we say wait when when hundreds of thousands of people have lost their jobs and we're saying, wait, who gets to wait? The people who have a stable job, who own a bunch of homes, who have a bunch of property, you get to wait. But the regular everyday person does not. And so we need a party that will pull all the levers, whether it's a legislative response and, it's an and. We need to come at it from the local level, the state level, the federal level. We need to make sure that we put, like I said it before, where are our attorneys? Not only our attorneys, where are our law students? Put our law students on. You all do this work. Like, everybody has a place right now. Because how did we lose this? How did we mess up voting rights yesterday? Or the day before? How did we do that? That is something that will, and so if we have, we've heard that there are going to be possibly some states that will go ahead and change their maps, to make them, all Democrat, in blue states. But is that all we can do? Is that the only answer? Put in the people who have been saying, look, this is what I do. Put Ayanna Pressley. Let's hear what Ayanna Pressley has to say. A brilliant mind. Put her up. Let's hear what Pramila Jayapal has to say. Another brilliant mind. Put Ilhan in.
Hey.
Quit looking over these folks because they're brilliant. They just keep getting sidelined. And look at the difference. My district is different than Ayanna Pressley's, but that message could still be the same and win those folks. It's two very different districts. It's Boston and St. Louis.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a bunch of stuff that we're going to do, right?
Yeah, we are.
I think we have a rally to get to.
We have a rally.
It's May Day.
Yeah.
It's a very significant day, especially around the world. It's unfortunately not as significant in America. We have a separate Labor Day, even though the labor movement and labor militancy in this country actually played a formative role in the establishment of May Day itself. Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think America has a different Labor Day as opposed to May Day, which is the International Labor Day, when a lot of demonstrations take place?
Because I think that, first of all...
I'm going to try this hummus while you explain that.
Okay. Help yourself. First of all, the United States has an issue with how we interact internationally anyway. So I think that us having our own day, our own Labor Day, yes. Oh, okay. Us having.
So we're getting done.
Yeah.
I gotta do a mic swap before you.
Okay. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Us having our own Labor Day, I think, is not that we shouldn't support. Not that we shouldn't support our workers, but I feel like that's a different deal. The fact that we don't even talk about International Workers' Day. Like today, people said to me, why are you all doing something for International Workers' Day?
We're a part. I mean,
it was a
the American labor force is a part of the international labor force.
Yeah. Well, yes. And so it was shocking that that was a jab at me. Was that why are you all what is International Workers' Day? When I just sat with I just rallied with a group of graduate students who were workers that were asking for fair pay, that were asking for their dignity at their job, and they were saying we're international, we're international students, and the way that we are treated, in this country, just trying to get our education. So that's why it's important.
And I feel like St. Louis has a history, much like many other places, especially much like many other Black communities, specifically Gary, Indiana, Flint, Michigan, Detroit, where St. Louis had a lot of industry. That has, of course, pulled away.
It is gone.
And now is a part of a string of other towns and cities that have been left behind, and is a downward trajectory. And I think part of that is also the the labor militancy that existed here that no longer exists to the same degree.
True, true. Because we had a lot of we had our uprisings in the labor movement here in St. Louis, and whether it was the labor movement, you know, that even filtered into tenants' rights movements, and I mean, you know, many decades ago. So St. Louis, you know, even 100 years ago, St. Louis was definitely a place where there was organizing for workers. They would shut down St. Louis in order to be able to keep to get fair wages and fair treatment with the different types of industry we had here, especially along this river. And so much of that is gone. But why is it gone?
Chicago.
Chicago.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, well, you know, I won't go into the Chicago piece. We won't talk about the Chicago piece.
Oh, damn. Just got a lot of
St. Louis and Chicago. St. Louis and Chicago. Now, I love my Chicago people.
All right, you got me a gift? No.
Yeah, you came to St. Louis for us. We wanted to give you a little something.
Oh my God.
You gotta open it.
Okay, let's take a look here. I'm doing an unboxing.
Wow.
This is a very dynamic live stream that we're doing here. Thank you so much.
That's my
We got the Forerunner, Corey Bush.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm putting this on eBay. No.
And only a Hasan could get it.
And then donate it back to the community.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We got, what is this?
Those are St. Louis' favorite chips.
Old Vienna of St. Louis Red Hot Riplets.
If you like hot.
Oh, I do.
Those are cats.
Okay. Hell yeah. And then what do we got? Oh. We're gonna vote Corey Bush merch, campaign merch.
You don't get the Hot Boys for Corey.
No,
Let's go.
Never mind.
I do.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you have a shirt.
Yeah, there's my card.
Yeah, it's in his car, but you do have a Hot Boy shirt.
Hell yeah.
All right.
I'll do it.
You can throw it all in here.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You just use it.
Let's put it in the bag so you can eat it later.
Yay! I do like spicy things.
Chad Doney's here as well.
How we doing? Hey, Mark.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
How are you doing?
Far too long.
You're looking smart in
And
a
his
suit.
most abused producer is here as well. What's good, man?
What's the plan?
Good to see you again.
What's the plan? You guys are. What's next? Marching.
I don't know.
We don't really know. We're kind of just
Yeah.
following.
Yeah, we're just following Corey along.
Heading to the May Day rally now, right? Got us. Cool.
Yeah, I believe that there's a rally, and we're going to be speaking at the rally as well. Corey's going to be giving a speech at the rally. They wanted me to talk as well. I said, yeah, I'll do it. As you know, I love yapping.